Only you. Wang Yibo surprises Xiao Zhan with a midnight birthday celebration. When the clock struck midnight, the world slept. But for Wang Yibo, the night had only just begun. He wasn't preparing for a stage, or a camera, or a contract. He was preparing for something far more important, something that had nothing to do with fame and everything to do with love. For weeks, whispers had filled fan forums. Would Xiao Zhan's birthday pass quietly this year, hidden under shadows of rumors and heartbreak? Or would someone, perhaps the one who mattered most, dare to light the dark with celebration? That answer came in the form of a midnight surprise. And not just any surprise, but one that would remind Xiao Zhan and the world that for Wang Yibo, there is only one person worth fighting for. Only one person worth breaking silence for. Only one person worth everything. Only him. Scene 1. The setup. The plan had been weeks in the making, though Yibo kept it buried under layers of secrecy. Assistants were sworn to silence. Delivery men were paid double not to ask questions. The location, a small lakeside villa, tucked away from paparazzi eyes, was scouted, secured, and decorated long before the night came. Inside, the atmosphere was almost dreamlike. Strings of fairy lights wrapped around wooden beams. White candles floated in glass bowls across the floor. The faint scent of lavender and vanilla drifted through the air. And at the center of it all sat a single round table, covered with a velvet cloth, set for two. Upon it, a cake modest in size, but breathtaking in design. Midnight blue frosting shimmered like a galaxy, with silver stars etched across its surface. On top, in delicate calligraphy, 3 words gleamed. Only you. Scene 2. The arrival. Xiao Zhan thought he was being driven home. He was exhausted from rehearsals, his body aching, his mind fogged. But instead of turning down familiar streets, the car slowed before the villa. "Where are we?" he asked, confusion etched across his face. The driver only smiled. "Someone's waiting." Inside, Xiao Zhan stepped cautiously into the dim glow of candlelight. His breath caught. The villa was silent, save for the faint sound of music playing somewhere, soft, almost like a heartbeat. And then, from the shadows, Wang Yibo emerged. He wore no stage costume, no stylist's perfection, just a simple black sweater, his hair falling loosely across his forehead. In his hands, a single white rose. For a moment, they simply looked at each other. 2 men, 2 hearts, 2 storms calmed only by one another's presence. "Happy birthday, Zhan. Yibo finally said, his voice low, husky, trembling with meaning. Scene 3. The embrace. Xiao Zhan didn't speak. He crossed the space between them in seconds, throwing his arms around Yibo's neck. The rose tumbled to the floor, forgotten, as Yibo caught him, holding him tight against his chest. For so long, their story had been written in whispers, in stolen glances, in silent promises. But here, in this midnight sanctuary, nothing was hidden. Xiao Zhan's voice cracked as he murmured into Yibo's shoulder, "After everything, you still remember me." Yibo pulled back just enough to look him in the eyes. "I don't remember you, Zhan," he said, his lips curving into a small, trembling smile. "I never forgot you. There was never a moment I didn't know it was only you." Scene 4. The cake. The cake sat waiting, its galaxy frosting shimmering under the glow of fairy lights. Yibo guided Xiao Zhan to the table, pulling out his chair with a gentleness that spoke volumes. "I baked it myself," Yibo said, almost shyly. Xiao Zhan's brows lifted. "You? Baking?" Yibo smirked, his pride flashing for just a second. "Don't laugh. It took me 3 tries. The first 2 collapsed." They both laughed then, the sound echoing like music against the villa walls. For the first time in what felt like forever, the laughter wasn't bitter, wasn't forced. It was real. Together, they cut the cake, their hands brushing against each other's on the knife. Fans would later say that if they could freeze one moment in time, it would be this one. Xiao Zhan smiling through candlelight, Yibo's hand resting lightly over his, 2 souls cutting into sweetness after so much sorrow. Scene 5. The gift. After the cake, Yibo reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. He didn't speak as he opened it, revealing a simple silver bracelet. No diamonds, no grand extravagance, just silver, polished and pure. On the inside of the band, engraved in delicate script, were the words, "Only you. Always." Xiao Zhan's breath hitched as he lifted it, his hands trembling. "Yibo, this." Yibo slipped the bracelet gently onto his wrist, his fingers lingering against Zhan's skin. "It's not about what it costs," he whispered. "It's about what it means. This us, it's all I'll ever want. No matter what the world says. No matter who tries to pull us apart. Only you." Scene 6, the dance. Midnight had long passed, but neither of them noticed. Yibo pulled out his phone, scrolling through playlists until he found one song, the one he had written secretly, tucked away, never released. It began with a soft guitar, then a voice, his own. Lyrics that spoke of silence, of waiting, of finding light again in someone's eyes. Xiao Zhan froze as he recognized it. "This is your song. For you," Yibo murmured, pulling him gently to his feet. And there, in the middle of the villa, among flickering candles and the scent of lavender, they danced. Slowly, awkwardly at first, then with a rhythm that only two hearts in sync could find. Xiao Zhan rested his forehead against Yibo's. Their breaths mingled. The world outside ceased to exist. Scene 7, the confession. As the song ended, silence filled the room again. Yibo's hands tightened around Zhan's waist. His eyes burned with intensity, with fear, with love. "I need to say this, Zhanji," he whispered. "Not in secret. Not in silence. Not someday. Now." Xiao Zhan's heart pounded, his throat tight. "I love you," Yibo said. The words cracked, but they were unshakable. "I've loved you since the beginning. Through every storm. Through every scar. Through every time I thought I might lose you. It has always been you. It will always be you." Xiao Zhan's eyes filled with tears, not of pain this time, but of something softer, something healing. He cupped Yibo's face, his own voice breaking as he replied. "Then don't ever let me go." Scene 8, the morning after. By the time dawn crept across the sky, the candles had burned low. The cake was half-eaten, the silver bracelet gleamed against Xiao Zhan's wrist, and two figures lay curled together on the couch, asleep in each other's arms. For once, there were no cameras, no scripts, no whispers of betrayal. Just two men, two hearts, and a night that belonged only to them. Why this night matters? The world will argue, as it always does. Some will call it fantasy, others will dismiss it as rumor. But those who believe, those who've watched every step of their story unfold, will know the truth. Because love is not measured by headlines. It is measured by nights like this. By whispered confessions, by trembling hands, by silver bracelets engraved with promises. By laughter in candlelight, and songs that never reach the charts. By midnight birthdays that prove, more than anything, that for Wang Yibo, there has only ever been one truth. Only you. The car door clicked shut behind him, and Xiao Zhan stepped into the cool midnight air. The silence of the villa grounds unsettled him. It wasn't the kind of silence he was used to after long rehearsals or heavy filming days. This silence had texture, like it was hiding something, waiting for him to uncover it. "Why here?" he muttered, glancing back at the driver. But the driver only gave a knowing smile before pulling away, leaving Xiao Zhan standing alone before the dimly lit villa. His chest tightened with unease. For months, his life had been filled with noise, tabloid rumors, agency meetings, whispers that clawed at him from every corner. To stand here in such stillness felt wrong. Until he pushed open the door. The air changed instantly. A warm glow wrapped around him like a living embrace. His eyes widened as his steps faltered. The villa wasn't dark. It wasn't empty. The space shimmered with life. Strings of fairy lights draped from the beams above, their golden hue reflecting in glass bowls filled with floating candles. A gentle fragrance, lavender, calming yet sweet, hung in the air, weaving itself into his senses. And at the center of it all, as though the room itself revolved around it, was a small table covered in velvet. 2 chairs. 2 plates. A cake glowing under the flicker of candlelight. Xiao Zhan froze in the doorway. His pulse thundered against his ribs. "Whose?" The word slipped from his lips, barely audible. "Mine." The voice came from the shadows. Low, steady, unmistakable. Xiao Zhan's head snapped toward it, and his breath hitched. From the corner, Wang Yibo stepped forward. He wasn't dressed for stage or press. No sleek suit, no layers of makeup, no stylized armor. Just a black sweater and soft, loose jeans. His hair fell untamed across his forehead, his expression bare in a way the world rarely saw. And in his hands, a single white rose trembled slightly, betraying the nerves hidden beneath his calm facade. For a heartbeat, Xiao Zhan couldn't move. Couldn't think. The sight of him here waiting, silent, so deliberate sent every memory flooding back. The hospital tears. The family clashes. The nights they weren't allowed to speak. And yet, despite it all, Yibo was here. Standing in candlelight. Holding a rose. Yibo, Xiao Zhan whispered, his voice cracking. Happy birthday, Zhanji. The words were soft, almost hesitant, but they carried a weight that shattered Xiao Zhan's composure. He blinked rapidly, his eyes stinging. He hadn't expected anyone, least of all Yibo, to remember, let alone prepare this. He stepped forward slowly, his legs weak, until he stood just a breath away. His gaze flickered from the rose, to the table, to Yibo's trembling hands. You did all this? Yibo nodded once. For you. Xiao Zhan swallowed hard, his throat dry. His heart was pounding so loudly, he wondered if Yibo could hear it. Why? That single word seemed to hang in the air, pulling everything taut. Yibo inhaled, his eyes locking onto Zhan's with unflinching intensity. Because you deserve it. Because the world has taken enough from you. Because no matter how much noise surrounds us, tonight, I wanted it to be quiet. Just you and me. The rose slipped slightly in his grip, and instinctively, Xiao Zhan reached out, steadying Yibo's hand. Their fingers brushed, lingering longer than necessary. That touch, simple, fleeting, ignited something between them that words couldn't capture. You shouldn't have, Xiao Zhan whispered, his voice trembling, though his hand never let go. I should have, Yibo countered, his tone firm but tender. Because if I don't remind you, who will? For a long moment, neither moved. The fairy lights glimmered above them, shadows swayed across their faces, and the silence filled with the unspoken. Xiao Zhan's chest rose and fell rapidly, his emotions fighting to surface. And then, without warning, he stepped forward and wrapped his arms around Yibo. The rose dropped soundlessly to the floor. Xiao Zhan buried his face into Yibo's shoulder, his body trembling as though the weight of months of pain, of doubt, of silence was finally breaking. After everything, you still thought of me, he whispered, his voice muffled but raw. Yibo's arms closed around him instantly, holding him tightly, securely. I never stopped, he murmured against Zhan's hair. Not once. The embrace stretched endlessly. Their breaths synced, their hearts pressed together in a rhythm only they could feel. It wasn't a reunion marked by grand declarations or fireworks, it was quieter, deeper. The kind of moment that redefined what love looked like, not a spectacle, but an anchor. Slowly, Xiao Zhan pulled back, his hands still clutching Yibo's sleeves. His eyes glistened under the light, reflecting every unshed tear. You're impossible, you know that. A faint smirk tugged at Yibo's lips, though his voice stayed soft. Only for you. That was when Xiao Zhan saw it, the cake waiting patiently on the table. Midnight blue, shimmering like a galaxy, silver stars carved across its surface. And at the center, 3 words that stole his breath all over again. Only you. His lips parted, his chest tightening as he read it. His gaze snapped back to Yibo, searching, questioning. Yibo simply shrugged, though his eyes betrayed the depth behind his nonchalance. It's the truth. Xiao Zhan's throat tightened again. You, really? His words faded, drowned by the swell of emotion clawing at him. I mean it, Zhanji, Yibo interrupted, his voice low but resolute. After everything we've been through, everything the world has thrown at us, it's still only you. It will always be only you. The simplicity of it shattered Xiao Zhan. His vision blurred with tears he couldn't hold back anymore. Without thinking, he reached out and cupped Yibo's face in his hands, his thumbs brushing across his cheeks with a tenderness that left Yibo breathless. Don't ever say that unless you're ready to prove it, Xiao Zhan whispered fiercely. Yibo leaned into his touch, his gaze unflinching, his lips curving into the smallest, truest smile. Then I'll spend the rest of my life proving it. The silence that followed wasn't empty, it was electric. It was the silence of promises being written in the air, in the heartbeats they shared, in the tears that finally fell freely down Xiao Zhan's cheeks as he whispered the words he had buried too long. Thank you, Yibo. For this. For tonight. For reminding me. I'm not alone. And in that candlelit villa, under strings of fairy lights and stars that shimmered across frosting, Xiao Zhan realized something with crystal clarity. No matter how many storms they endured, no matter how loud the world grew outside these walls, this was the only truth that mattered. Only him. Only Yibo. Only love.